Cheapskate. I'm Cameron, and this is our first part of our three-part episodes of building the nylon string electro-acoustic Skeggs body-shaped guitar. So that was the template, and today's episode is making the neck. The second episode will be the steam bending of the sides using a steam box and assembling the back and top and making it and putting all that part together, and probably putting the neck on, and may even feature the neck carve in the second episode. I'm not sure yet. The third episode will be the bridge, which is going to be a pretty complicated bridge, and putting it all together and hopefully playing it and all that jazz. So lots of sped up footage, virtually no real explanation as far as what I'm doing and things that are going right or wrong. It's really just going to be to get through it quickly, because I appreciate that this is part of my competition entry for the Great Guitar Build-Off 22, and you've probably watched about 500 videos if you've been keeping track of them all, and so I'm trying to make them as action-packed as possible so that you don't have to waste too much time. With that said, let's get into it. And if I push this side together, the other side opens up, vice versa. I can hold them together, force them together, which shows that there's the tension in the wood. What I want is for these sides to match together. So those sides are both perfectly flat, and you can see now there's a gap in the middle. Top there. Okay. So, how are we looking? Okay, side. The neck blank thus far. This is the head end. Fretboard, walnut. This is blackwood and maple at the moment, Tasmanian blackwood. This is my neck template. Well, there it is. Looks like... Well, the neck is super flat. Like everywhere I look, there is absolutely no light coming through in here at all. Really happy with that. It's turned out really well. I can see that from side to side I'm also very flat. So the holes are done and I've just test fit the tuners in, and yeah. Just going to route the truss for a channel, 6mm wide, 9mm deep. The first pass though I'm only going to go a couple of mils deep. To take off a little bit. Don't usually need to take off very much. Got to be a little bit careful here. Don't want to take off too much. Obviously never put your hand in front of a chisel, just in case you're new to woodworking. You always keep your fingers behind the chisel. You think you can control it. That's the trouble with the chisel, is you think you can control it. But you know, you just have to push a little bit harder, because I've just got to get past that little spot and suddenly it's embedded in your hand, and it happens so fast that you can't stop it. So don't do that. Remember, I'm driving a motor car when I'm listening to stuff. So alright, so that's obviously gone in. This is almost perfect. It's actually just a little bit not quite deep enough here. Here it's perfect though, so I need to go a little bit deeper up here, which I'll just scrape out. There we go. So just put that in there. I don't know if you can even see it now. There. This is a square peg in a round hole, so it's got a round end, and it was able to move back and forward. Now it can't. Now it's tight. Works in other countries. Okay. So the neck is of course not width yet. So this is. I don't think this is really my normal method. I think I normally do it in different order to this, but I'm putting the fretboard on before I width the neck. I think I usually do it the other way around. You normally width it and then put the fretboard on. But what I'm going to try and do is have the fretboard on and then width the neck and the fretboard at the same time. It seems my ADHD has struck again. I was just cleaning up a bit of glue and stuff and realised that where I have put the edge of the fretboard, it's nice and straight, but it's actually on the 0 fret line, where you would normally put it if you're going to have a nut. But the 0 fret has to go in the fretboard, not on the edge of the fretboard. So, oops, I contemplated ripping the whole thing apart, although it's going to be hard because I think it's setting really quick because it's so hot. But, and I'm sweating, but I think that I've got a fair bit of flexibility in the neck. I always leave things a bit longer than I need to be to allow for stuff ups, which I need to do. So I can just move the 0 line another 5 mils further down the neck, and move the whole thing. I left a fair bit over the end, more than I needed at this end. So looking at the back, it's fairly even, the amount we had overhanging here. So that's fairly well centered. And the same up this end, it seems to be fairly well centered. It's fairly even amount overhanging. So yeah, there's my second line, which is actually where the fretboard should have ended. And so I've got the two marks here. I don't know if you can see them in pencil. The first one is the 0 fret, and the second one is where I should have had the fretboard up to. So I was allowing about 5 mils of fretboard before I got to the 0 fret. So basically it means I'm going to have to move my 0 fret another 5 mils down and put it sort of just here. .9. $103.4. $134.1. At the end of the day, as long as it looks good to the eye, because as we know, guitars are not accurate instruments. They are approximate. So getting too upset about things not being exact, I mean, if it looks good to the eye, then it's probably pretty good. I think you can see the lines pretty clearly there. So that's just hand drawn by eye. I can't see any faults by eye, so I reckon it's good. So I have I think a different technique to most people I see on the internet for doing fret slots. Probably because I'm lazy, or could be just because I don't have jigs and I haven't bothered making jigs. I don't feel like I need one. I don't scratch a line in first either. This is my pencil line. Yeah, pretty much lined up, and then this is a push saw, so I just push onto that line. It needs to come across this way a little bit more, so I'll do that. There we go. And then I just line the saw up, and so I start off an angle just to get right on the line. Then I line it up with a line, and I just go like that, down a little bit, saw, then I drop a little bit more, a little bit more, so I'm just extending this line back, and I'll show you as I do that. If you end up going offline, you can correct it by using this method. So you can see now it's creeping back along the line. This is obviously slower than using a jig. So I've counted down, this is our 12th fret, that's our 0 fret, which you don't count, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, okay. So we're going to inlay this pick. The frets are going to be gold, I quite like green on brown. We'll hold it down and see. That looks pretty good. Alright, so we'll trace this now. I'm going to have to cut this with that in mind. Okay. Alright, so we'll get our sharp knife, which I've left somewhere. Okay. So the trick with these is to cut very lightly, especially on the first pass. Don't try and cut deeply. That's where you get into trouble. People just try and go too deep on the first pass. The other thing is too, so a fly just flew in my mouth. If you go, if you're going shallow and you make a mistake, you can correct it, and it's not a big deal. But if you're going deep and you make a mistake, then you've made a mistake. It's doing it again. It wants to go. I'm even trying to cut in, and it's going with the grain. The grain is just resisting the direction I'm trying to go in. So when I cut this, all I'm trying to do is prevent chip out. So I'm just trying to put a line, cut a line around. It's not trying to be like look really fancy or smooth or anything, because it's going to end up a little bit rough anyway by the time I cut it out. It's just to make sure that when I put the rotary tool in there, I don't rip a whole chunk out that goes, you know, into the rest of the grain. Well, we're just going to use the rotary tool. I start off with this point one here, and I just try and come the inside of the line and just touch it. When I do this, once again, I'm not trying to go deep or anything, and I'm just starting a little bit inside and moving up towards the line. Not worried about going right up to in every case, because what happens is you hit little hard bits every now and then, and it doesn't glide. It kind of like will bounce off, and if you press too hard, it'll like ricochet and you'll end up hitting somewhere else. So just lightly go up to it. Okay, so with this bit, I'm using the flat top part of it. We're getting close to a fit now. Just got to take some time to see where is it off. It's slightly off somewhere, and where is that? And then just touch up that bit. So it's just the tip there. That looks like it's in. Okay, same thing, only quite a bit bigger. I just got to be a bit careful with it. Just making sure there's no real high bits in the middle there. Because this is a flat fretboard, if it was a radius fretboard and it's a bit higher in the middle, it doesn't matter. Because this is flat, like a classical fretboard, I don't want it to be bulging in the middle. I'm going to use this cheap, really cheap stuff. It's quite thick, and I wanted a thicker super glue because it won't run through the frets as much. Do it that way. So, don't think the glue would have really set. So while sanding that, it's put a bit of sawdust into the exact places we want some sawdust. So rather than look the gift horse in the mouth, we'll say thank you very much. I don't think I need any there, but this is the thinner glue that I was talking about. I think that's all it needs. I don't think that's... I'll put some there just in case it is a gap. I don't think it is. Let's go really lightly to start with, because I'm just moving this not necessarily in the centre, because I just noticed it didn't seem to be sanding on the edges very well, so this piece might not be as flat as I thought it was. Not wearing a dust mask, silly me. I didn't mean to go that fast. Alright, do that one. So that's 1, 2, 3, yep. 4, 5. Okay. Gonna hold on. Come off. That's come out alright. Time to glue them in. I'm just using my cheapo super glue because it's fairly thick. Let's see how that goes in. Looks alright. If I even need to wipe it, do I? Okay. So while I've got these on, I was actually trying to get them off, and they're really hard to get off. It's a really tight fit. But while I was about to take them off, I thought, well, I may as well drill the holes for the screws. Gonna matter. These tubes. Alright, so there's still a little bit of roughness just here in the middle part just there, but it's all square. It's pretty much flat. This is where any block will be joining on around about here. So that's good enough now, and it's all square, so that's the main thing. That's breaks the surface about here. So if I say about there, it's going to break the surface about here. Just going to put it about there. Let's I'm being a little bit generous and go a bit further back. Let's say that is breaking the surface. Breaking the surface about here, just in front of that. So, just in front of that second one. So we'll put it almost in line with it, about there. Let's say. So there, and then where do we have to stop it? We'll sit there. Then though, we've got the truss rod adjustment. So this will be covered, so we'll still see that, although I'd like to cover it with So I'm just sanding these burn marks and things out and smoothing everything out under here a little bit more. Oh, God, okay, just get rid of half of that on the ground, that's fine. Whoops. Put that there so we know the exact size of that. This is the correct direction, yes it is. that's going to be the string guide, and then the 0 fret will be here. So this will have slots cut in it for the strings to go through. When I first started making nuts, they used to come out wrong all the time. I went by measurements on websites and things like that, and I tried to do them as close as I could, but it still didn't look right. So now the only measurement I really care about is the two end measurements, the two E strings. I put those distances on my nut, then I lightly scoured it. Right, so I've just done it lightly with the jewel saw, so I could sand them off again if I want to. Then I got a guitar which I've loosened the strings, so we'll just slip this under. This fits in that slot, sort of, yeah, fits in there now. And I've got these just on the, where I've put a little mark there. I just slip the string, will just grip onto it and stay onto it. So what I can do now is just check the spacing. If you look at the strings a little past the nut, you'll see the spacing looks fine. And that's what you want to do. If you look at this and it looks fine by eye, then you're in the right spot. Bit of a polish. I haven't polished it on the back. It's gone a bit silvery, but it will it'll tarnish after actually in about 48 hours. It'll go gold again. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, so it is looking a bit silvery. Okay, so even if you have a very steady hand, it's very hard to do. But watch some cheapskate videos. Alright. Not the nuts, that's the main thing. I could smell it burning. Wow. You can smell it whenever you're even just cutting this with a handsaw, you can smell it burning. Alright, I'll try and smooth it out now. Just started cutting through this, I thought you might be interested. So the slots has kind of got super glue in them from when I did this. I'm just lining up and getting sort of both angles and going backwards and forwards. Cutting our way through this pick. Yeah, looks good. I thought some people might have the question in their minds, what happens when you get to the inlay? Well, it's just the same as putting any other fret in. At least it is for me. Just do exactly the same process. You're banging onto the fret, so you don't have to worry too much, and picks are sort of flexible to take a punishment anyway. I guess if you're using a bologna shell or something that could crack, you'd have to be a little more careful. I guess the thing is you don't want to hit that with your hammer. Would be the only thing I would say. So you want to make sure your hammer's not tilted this way. On this pick it wouldn't matter, but if you had shell or something that was brittle, it might matter. You have to watch the last one, right? It's so satisfying. I've already put the glue in. Still doesn't feel good. Got to concentrate. Alright, well here is the neck, where we're up to, and this will be the end of episode 1. I'm just going to put the string guide in for now. It's not completed yet, but that'll give you a bit of an idea of how it's going to look. Back end there. So, next episode we will be doing, well, actually, if I flip this over now, you'll see these 4 holes here. So that's part of what we're going to do next episode, is we make a block for that to fit onto to attach the sides. So we will be steam bending the sides using our steam box, and we will be making blocks for the front and back, attaching that, making the back and the top, doing inlays and all sorts of stuff like that, and getting the body and the neck attached to each other, and we'll probably be carving the neck as well, I think. And then the final episode will probably be the bridge and all the rest of it. There's a fair bit of work to do on the bridge for this. So we will see you then. If you enjoyed this, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see the other 2 parts. Catch you later.